Show. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm Sheila Gunn Reid, and this is the Rebel News daily live stream. This is the Monday edition, which means that I am joined by my co-host, Adam Sos, in Calgary. This is sort of an Alberta-focused edition, but not completely. We focus on Western issues and the things that maybe David and I on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we don't really get to dig into because he lives in the center of the universe, known as Toronto. Hey, Adam, how's it going?
It's going wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. There's a little bit of hissing in my ear, AD, in the studio, if you know anything about that. I don't, but it's just manifesting. I'll get the nuts and bolts of what we're doing here out of the way, and then I guess we'll just jump straight into the news, hopefully. So this is the Rebel News daily live stream. Used to just be hosted on Friday, just hosted by Ezra Levant. But then the pandemic struck. We were all grounded here at home. We couldn't travel for work. And many of you, our beloved viewers, you were sent home. And so we thought, what a better way to talk about the news of the day with the restrictions changing so fast than to do it live on air. And it gave us a chance to interact with each other because I'm out here in Alberta. Adam's out here in Alberta. It would help us feel connected to the home office in Toronto because we couldn't fly there, really. But it also gave us a chance to interact with our viewers at home because, everybody was sort of shut in and nobody was doing stuff or interacting with everybody. And it was also a chance for our viewers to support us through something called a super chat on YouTube. But YouTube decided to demonetize us completely after the election of Joe Biden because they didn't have to pretend anymore. And we were caught up in the second great demonetization, along with a lot of other conservative content creators. But being early adopters of good ideas, we've decided that we will start off our shows on YouTube because there are almost 1.3 million of you over there. 1.5? I lost track. There's so many of you. There 1.5. There's a lot of you over there. We don't want to abandon you, but there are things that we can't say on YouTube because YouTube is really, really picky about questioning the science, questioning your local public health authorities, even though they're not deities. They're just, highly paid bureaucrats worthy of criticism, who change their mind from day to day, apparently, and who give crazy advice. And we'll get to that in a second. So we'll start off on YouTube. But when we get to the YouTube red zone, we're just going to have to say, see you in a minute, YouTube viewers, because we're also simultaneously broadcasting on the platforms of Odyssey, Rumble, and Super U, where they don't care about your politics. Say what you want, just no hate speech, whatever, your standard rules, but they don't really care about your political opinions. And you can also support us on each one of those platforms by tipping us as a creator, sending a hyper chat, a Rumble rant, or a Super U shout. And I think I've checked off everything, right?
I think so. You did a good job. You did it again. You're a pro. So yeah, 100% check those other guys out because it's wonderful to support those networks. I know sometimes maybe you've been on YouTube for a long time. You're locked into that system. But if these other guys really start growing, if YouTube notices that everyone's moving over there because those guys allow free speech, maybe they start to review some of their policies. And we'll talk about YouTube reviewing policies in a little bit. But first off, I want to get to this, another in the long line of brilliant decisions by bureaucrats. Forgive me, I have kids, so my mind is in the world of Paw Patrol, but Mayor Humdinger said, I'm an unqualified elected official. What's the worst that could happen? Well, some of the things that we're seeing right now are the worst that can happen. So Dr. Tam, in all her brilliance, has said that Christmas caroling is not safe. It's shocking because you can look at a hockey arena and the people standing shoulder to shoulder, packed together. Those people singing at full volume or chanting is completely safe. I also can't help but notice that in very many religious traditions, and God bless them, they have singing and chanting and various sort of oral tradition components to their faiths, and that doesn't seem to be raised as a point of conjecture. But the second that Christmas comes along, suddenly there's an opposition to any sort of singing or gathering. It seems that these rules are selectively enforced, certainly, and Christmas is priority number one. It's only a matter of time before they say no Christmas dinners as well. But I mean, how bah humbug. how much grumpier can you get than saying it's unsafe to be singing Christmas carols this year together?
This lady is not, I don't think she's sane. Like, I know the pandemic has driven a lot of people crazy. Or maybe not the pandemic, but rather the restrictions on on your life during the pandemic. It's caused a lot of people to just sort of lose their mind a little bit. And it's evidenced in here. If you read the article that we wrote up, in the winter, this is what Tam told reporters the other day. In the wintertime, going inside with a lot of people shouting, what does she think we're doing? Shouting and singing is not the best idea if COVID is circulating and accelerating outside your front door. So going outside, having people on your doorstep shouting, I guess. She thinks you just show up and shout jingle bells in people's faces when they answer the door. Jesus. And then she says, Tam also advised that anyone gathered for an indoor event this winter, even fully vaccinated people, should keep their windows open, particularly if ventilation is not optimal. What does that even mean? Now she's an HVAC technician? What is it with this lady? She also compared the coronavirus to secondhand smoke that should be avoided if possible. We learned how the virus can linger in fine aerosols and remain suspended in the air we breathe, much as expelled smoke lingers in poorly ventilated spaces. This is why opening a window helps reduce the risk, and why wearing a well-fitted and well-constructed mask is so important when you're spending time in indoor public spaces, particularly if ventilation is not optimal. The risk for surges in disease activity is likely to increase with more time spent indoors. You mean just like the flu? Like this, she's not right. This comes on the heels of Dr. Kieran Moore, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, who said that Halloween trick-or-treaters should not sing or shout for their tweets. These people are just fun burglars who don't even know how other people engage in fun. They just know that they shouldn't be doing it. Do they think that people are just out there screaming in the streets over Christmas?
Yeah, I can just picture them like Googling, how does a Halloween, like broken English, like nonsense sentence they don't understand in any way, shape, or form what this is. Like no shouting. Even in the original article that came out about what Dr. Tam said, it seemed as though she thought it was like the caroling was indoors. It was even less clear based on her comments. And then the whole thing about Halloween, like it totally is just like bah humbug, grumpy. And then meanwhile, the millionaire hockey players and their friends, and I'm a hockey fan, but they get to sit shoulder to shoulder. What's with and this is really what it comes down to, what's with like the targeting of all the things that kids like a family goes out and carols together and the kids experience some normalcy. It's almost like they're grooming the next generation of children for submission to ridiculous rules. No trick-or-treating, no caroling. I mean, I'm almost certain there's going to be no Santas at the malls, right? There's no way that can fly. Or are they allowed to wear masks? Who knows? Oh no, I've probably given them another idea of something to go after.
Don't. And you know, like I can't help but always look at these things through a certain worldview, and I think you're the same. Well, I know you're the same, but you know, it feels like this is in advance a targeted attack on religion because they don't want you singing praises to God in church. Forgive them, the Christmas and Easter Catholics, but I mean that is when our church pews are full. More people end up back in church as part of a family tradition, as opposed to religious faith-based tradition. It's all going to church on Christmas has almost become for some people a secular thing, but they do go there, and hopefully some of them, it gets into them and it stays there for the rest of the year. But a lot of this does feel like a targeted attack on Christianity. And I know I'm being all war on Christmas, but you and I both know St. Augustine said, "He who sings prays twice," and this is it really does inhibit people's ability to worship when they can't sing.
Well, and the other thing is that they, like we saw like last week, I think we were talking about not boosters yet. They're always, as silly as they are and as nonsensical as their policies are, they're always preempting something. So it's what, November 14th today, mid-November 15th. November 15th today, and they're already starting to preempt it's not going to be a normal Christmas rhetoric. Like, why are you talking about this? Maybe I suppose it's probably asked directly, but we're over a month away and they're already starting to bah humbug on Christmas. Yeah. So it's the start, and there's no doubt going to be more. And good luck preventing people from celebrating Christmas. Birth of the Savior.
It does. Yeah, it does feel as though they are like softening everybody up for the big, like, just give us Christmas and everything will be back to normal by Valentine's Day or whatever. And then she'll be giving us some weird advice about how to kiss through a mask on Valentine's Day. Yeah,
exactly.
Because this stuff never ends.
I'm sure somehow magically for New Year's Eve, there's going to be like parties allowed, but Christmas dinner you're not going to be able to have because of the science. And we're just pointing out how ridiculous it is. We're not questioning the science. YouTube, please don't come for us. No, we're saying, of course, that we endorse the government's image about and a message about the science. Yeah. Speaking of which, if all those windows are open in Christmas, I don't know where Teresa Tam lives, it's likely to be a little bit chilly. I was noticing you have a very nice hoodie on there. Yeah. That would be a good way to stay cozy when your windows are open and it's minus 40 degrees out, as happens sometimes in Canada. Sheila, where did you get that nice warm hoodie, and is it comfortable?
It is the best. It washes up amazing because I'm not particularly kind to my clothes. Like if it says dry clean only or even wash inside out, I'm like, this is not for me.
I'll drive over with a tractor.
Yeah, exactly. So this is from the Rebel News store at rebelnewsstore.com. And just everybody be aware, we are working on some new promo codes for you to take advantage of over the Christmas season. And this is the best because we've got some super fun Rebel News Christmas hoodies in there now. So, nice. And yes. Yeah, so like your fun Christmas sweater can actually rep your favorite news company. Look at this. That's so great.
That's awesome.
And toques, everybody needs a toque. This is Albert. You're going to need a toque because Teresa Tam told you to leave the window open. So you're going to need to wear that for Christmas dinner or at church if you want to sing. We've got some Let's Go Brandon stuff. I like our new
banner there too.
Yeah. We've got the My Body, My Choice. I like this one. This is a new one that just went in, I think, last week or a little bit ago. Faith, Family, Freedom with the cross there. I almost said crucifix because my Catholicism is showing. But yeah, I really like that. I think it comes in two different colors. So it comes in the white with the blue and then the black with the blue, I think, which I think is really great.
Yeah, I'd get the black with the blue for my dad and then the white and the other one for my mom there. That'd be nice. They're really nice. I love them. And one of the fun things is when people often come up to us at like a rally or an event, they've got it on. We'll chat with them about it, why they picked that shirt and stuff. So go grab yourself a shirt. I think Sheila and I both have codes, so you can pick Team Sheila or Team Adam. I think it's Sheila 10 or Adam 10 on your first purchase. You can get 10% off. Go grab some Christmas stuff. I think there's some promotions for Christmas as well. And some fun gifts.
Yep, it's some free global shipping, so get it early. Get it early, by the way, because we've got supply chain issues, and Lord only knows if Canada Post is going to go on strike over the vaccine mandate. Oh, look at that cute Rebel toque.
Oh, I'm getting one of those. Oh, yeah.
Those are great. Yeah, I love a good pom-pom toque.
I'm making. This is very unprofessional. I'm making a note to get myself a toque right now. That is awesome.
Oh, yeah, those are great. That's new stuff that I didn't realize had already popped into the store. And I talked to our store guy today, who's great and very responsive to when we need things or want to alter things or add things. And I think he's working on recycling the promo codes from last year. So if you took advantage of that generous Sheila 10 promo code from last year, I think you might be able to use it this year going forward. We might be resetting those. But if you've already used Sheila 10, please use Adam 10. I think we did a contest last year, and I think I cleaned everybody's clock. last year.
Adam 10, use Adam 10 there. Do you hear
use Adam 10.
Everyone use Adam 10. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, some really incredible products there, some really nice stuff. Help get the brand out, represent, and then have some fun while you're at it. So we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the things we can and can't say on YouTube. This is part of YouTube's entire sort of mantra of positivity and inclusivity and all that stuff. And that stuff is good to an extent, but it can at a certain point remove us from the world. Ultimately, YouTube used to be at least a place where ideas and sort of, it was a free market of ideas. And then if people like people's ideas, they would become popular and then they'd become professional YouTubers. They've trended away from that. We saw this with Instagram, but YouTube is removing the public display sort of dislikes. So the dislike button is actually going to stay there, but they're actually removing the capacity to see how many dislikes a video has. Now, this is kind of interesting because on one side, sure, like someone getting picked on for a video, getting bombed with dislikes, that can be negative. Also, it's the real world, so that's not necessarily the worst thing. But it does create sort of an artificial environment. The other thing too is there's sort of the fun side of negativity, if there is such a thing. Like the YouTube Rewind video from 2018 is, I think, still the most disliked video. There's a PewDiePie video where he wanted to get as many dislikes as possible. I think it's like in the top few. So the sort of, I mean, as bad as it is, the negativity sort of creates an environment. And it's also an opportunity for creators to get feedback on if people hated it or if people are just kind of trolling and disliking. So I think something is lost from the YouTube ecosystem when that is taken away. Again, all in the name of inclusivity and stuff. But I think if you're putting your content out there in the public sphere, it should be subject to criticism. And a dislike button, if that's the hardest thing you encounter, I don't think people have read through YouTube comments because a dislike button is not the hardest thing in the world to deal with.
This is the everybody gets a trophy of content creators. And it's a natural extension of that, like, nobody gets any hurt feelings and nobody gets any criticism. And criticism is just like... criticism is mean words, and mean words are just like violence. So by giving them dislike, you may as well just run up and punch them right in the face. Like that's the like logic train of where this goes. But yeah, like when you see CBC get a wild amount of dislikes compared to what we get, I think our like to dislike ratio is one of the best on the internet because we have the best people. But when people are able to publicly show CBC, and CBC has to wear those dislikes around their neck like a millstone, that's good for them. But this prevents anybody from ever having that sort of moment of, maybe I got this one wrong, because the world knows I got it wrong. That doesn't exist anymore. Now it's like, I got it wrong, but only I know, so I'll just carry on. Well, what does that do? Well, how does that even help your channel? Like in the broad spectrum of things, like if you are creating stuff that people don't like and the world knows that they don't like it, how does that fix what's going on at your channel if you're treating it like a business?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is realistically, like YouTube is a popularity contest, and it is very much, aside from boosting and some stuff like that, it is very much a very competitive sort of free market atmosphere where the best people become superstars. We're still in the past years, and this is back when I was doing YouTube stuff, but they changed their algorithms to basically, because they're making more money off the big names. So the algorithms became more inclined towards ramping people up. So on a practical level, they do have an incredibly competitive environment where the big guys get their tires pumped and little people struggle to grow. So very much in practice, that's YouTube's platform. That's how they work. I mean, compared to like broadcast television, there's more accessibility for people, but they do assist and help the channels that are really big continue to grow, or channels that pay them, or whatever other things there may be. But in practice, if you're a little guy who's not making good content, it's really hard to ever make it as a YouTuber. What this does is, well, they maintain an entirely not inclusive and high performance market capital based performance driven industry. They have one nice little policy that there's no dislikes. So we're very inclusive, and we're very, it's yet another in the never-ending sort of progressive. Yeah, it's yet another in the never-ending progressive sort of policies that seem nice, but don't actually really help anybody or do anything. But it seems nice. It's like a nice sentiment. So they're creating and cultivating an environment of inclusivity.
AD just whispered something in my ear, which might tip to the timing of all of this. And that's that the White House kept getting all their videos downvoted. And, oh, yeah, look at that. And so that's the White House official account. And so they were getting all their videos downvoted. And so instead of, the people being able to take advantage of this one little thing to speak truth to power, to hold their politicians to account, YouTube took it away. And, that's just what they do. This is really creating a narrative that people actually like Joe Biden, by taking away people's ability to dislike Joe Biden, but they can't just do it to the White House. They have to do it to everybody else. And so everybody else is collectively guilty just to protect Joe Biden. Yeah, look at this. Fauci.
Yeah. And listen, like, if you look at the actual videos...
AD, did you downvote that? AD went and downvoted that.
Yeah, that's hilarious. If you look at the content that has the most downvotes, actually, it's usually like annoying kid songs that parents have heard a million times and they angrily downvote, or the odd pop song, other than YouTube Rewind. Like, they're not doing it to protect pop stars and Chinese companies that put out like bulk cartoons for kids. They're doing it for political purposes. That's the inspiration behind this. And that goes everywhere from the White House to ideologies. Like, very often you'll see people put out radical progressive ideology content, and it gets all these views, but it's almost all negative comments and people saying this isn't real or you're off your rocker. So they'll censor out those comments, and they're removing the dislikes. So you see a bad video getting a lot of views. This is the other thing is stuff can get negative attention, and if you're blocking out the views, people can be trolling on something or having a laugh at something, and it's creating an artificial sort of environment of positive feedback because there's a lot of views occurring. If you don't see that ratioing and the negative sort of likes, or the stacked up comments in the negative, it's definitely skewing the algorithm in favor of those progressive ideologies. So,
you know what it is? I feel like this is gaslighting on a global scale, where you're like, wait, maybe it's me. Maybe there's something wrong with me because I can't stand what I just watched, but everybody else seems to like it. So maybe I'm the weirdo. For example, this is manifesting itself right now in People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. They've named Paul Rudd, and I'm like, that guy? And I realize that this is like a thing where people have, of course, there's somebody out there for everybody. I know, I'm a niche market thing myself. But I look and I'm like, no, you guys are trying to gaslight 50% of the population by selecting this guy and telling us that we think that guy's the sexiest man alive. It's the same thing as removing the YouTube dislike button. You're gaslighting us because I know that there's nothing wrong with me by thinking that guy's just meh. The same way I want to dislike a White House video, but I can't. And apparently everybody else just loves them. Anyways, I'm really annoyed by that.
No comment on Paul Rudd.
I'm really annoyed by that Paul Rudd thing. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Who did you ask? Who?
The same person that CBC asked about the farmers cutting back. Anyway, it's funny. The media always seems to talk to. They're like, we found there must be one guy who has a degree in everything that's on call. He's like a farmer, a doctor, a film critic, a gender specialist, and they call the one guy, and then they're like, a farmer says, a movie critic says, that's it's
the same women who think Trudeau is beautiful. It's the same women who think Trudeau is beautiful. And I look at him and I'm like, he looks exactly like his IQ. Like, I just don't think that he has like an intelligent face about him. But, well, I guess. I don't know. Adam, what's next on the list? Get me out of this.
No, quickly. It's so interesting how often these feminist magazines, when they name people like sexiest man, it's exclusively because of the power dynamic that they hold in Hollywood, which is very sort of toxic masculinity, and not at all.
Look at that.
He's fine.
Look at that.
He's fine.
He's fine.
No,
I know, but like,
anyway. No, yeah.
the
yeah,
sexiest man alive? No, right?
He's,
like, no.
He's funny. He's got a good personality. I'm Team Paul Rudd. I'm not really, but I'll pretend to be just for the sake of argument.
Hemsworth's running around out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah. I don't know.
There are Hemsworths running. Several of them, literally, plural. There are several Hemsworths that are. Okay. All right. We are turning into People Magazine or something. Moving on. Speaking of moving on, everything we want to talk to you about today, we cannot continue to talk about it here, I don't think. Is that right, Sheila?
Yes, that's right. AD has whispered in my ear that it is time to pull the chute on YouTube, and we will migrate exclusively over to those other 3 platforms, so Rumble, Odyssey, and Super U. And we don't want to say goodbye to our YouTube viewers, but we want to say see you just in like 10 seconds over on the other platform. We clear?